Thank you, Travis. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with news from the British Virgin Islands. Former Premier Andrew Faye has signed an extradition waiver that prevents him from remaining in another country if he takes flight while out on bond ahead of his trial next month. The extradition waiver was part of the conditions of Faye's modified bail bond, which amounted to $1 million and was divided into two parts. The first part is $500,000 corporate security bond that was recently facilitated by his close associate and childhood friend Albion Bobby Hutch before he was allowed to leave custody. The second is a $500,000 personal surety bond to be co-signed by Faye, his daughter, and a friend as part of Faye's pre-trial freedom conditions. The extradition waiver states in part that if Faye were to flee to any country apart from the United States or its territories, the government may seek his return through extradition process or any other means for the purpose of trial or convicted sentencing or service of a sentence. The waiver was signed on June 13 and submitted to the court by his attorney the following day. According to the document, Faye said that signing the waiver is a condition of bail and noted that it was not his intent to flee the jurisdiction. The former premier also noted that he knowingly and intelligently waives any and all rights he may have to challenge any order of expulsion or deportation from any country from which the United States requests his return for the purpose of submitting to legal processes in connection with his case. We tell you now that the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Thetis crew seized more than $99 million worth of cocaine in the Caribbean Sea. Approximately 5,237 pounds of illegal narcotic was offloaded at the U.S. CG base Miami Beach last Friday. Interdicting drug traffickers in the open ocean is challenging work, and every interdiction is complex and unique, said Comrade Justin Nadolny, commanding officer of Thetis. Nadolny also said that the offload is a testament to the teamwork and devotion of every crew assigned to carry out the mission, and it showcases the strength of the valuable international partnerships united to combat transitional organized crime. The Thetis, a 270-foot famous class medium endurance cutter, is home ported in Key West and patrols the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico, performing counter-drug operations, migrant interdiction operations, search and rescue, and fisheries enforcement. The rising energy prices has prompted Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown to call out the trade embargo of the United States to Venezuela, saying that the sanctions on Venezuela are also hurting other nations in the Caribbean region. Brown said recently that there is something fundamentally wrong with American policies to Cuba and Venezuela. They are not only hurting Cuba and Venezuela, but they're also hurting others within the region, he shared with the Daily, adding that the U.S. cannot dictate the Caribbean nations on their trade policies. In a bid to curb the rising price of oil, Brown then called on the Caribbean community, CARICOM, to talk to Caracas. Brown believes that the Petro-Carib initiative that Venezuela had since 2005 could be vital for the region to survive the soaring prices of oil. Last month, Washington had announced it was planning to loosen up the restrictions on Venezuela, a gesture meant to encourage resumed negotiations between the U.S.-backed opposition and the government of President Nicolas Maduro. The Caribbean's potential for renewable energy has been highlighted in a report by the Renewable Energy World. And finally, news from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, who earlier this week spoke of the challenges faced as he was preparing for a number of overseas trips, including travel through the Caribbean, now says he has a plan in mind for regional air travel. While he did not disclose the plan to listeners of a radio program, Gonsalves detailed the history of the failed regional carrier Liat, an entity he served as chairman for the shareholder governments. The airline is owned by governments of Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Browne said previously that a decision has been taken that would allow Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines to turn over their shares in Leah to St. John's for $1 EC. Gonzalez told radio listeners that he faced much opposition from regional governments and their populations, many of which he said are now calling for the revival of the airline. That has brought us to the end of tonight's regional news. Thank you for watching. Back to you, Travis.